Warning. The following may contain concepts, ideas, and/or reflections unique in nature and not yet approved by government and/or corporate entities. This content is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended to stimulate further reflection or to perpetuate additional discourse beyond the scope already outlined by institutional curriculum.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to our show. We're going to be talking about the Great White North, eh? Maybe Canadians aren't quite as rich as everybody thinks they are. Let's get into it.
Yes, let's, shall we?
Alrighty. So, yeah, I think we've been seeing this quite a lot of whenever they come out with statistics about how much Canadians are making, the numbers seem to be overblown, and there can be a few reasons for that.
You mean they want to lie through statistics?
Yeah, and okay, a couple ways. I mean, one of the most basic is if you don't know the difference between a mean average statistic and a median, the median is just right in the middle. So whoever out of the population is in that center bit, that's your median.
So when they're talking about income, your more accurate reading is going to be the median, not the mean average.
Yeah, so I kind of last night I thought of this example for how fallacious a mean average could be, because you could take 10 people, for example. 2 of them are unemployed, they make no money, and then 7 people make 10 grand a year, and then 1 guy makes $100 million a year. If you used a mean average, then the mean average would be just a little bit above 10 million per person, which
sure
seems like a pretty good wage, right?
I'm sure that guy that makes $100 million, though, is not declaring that on his taxes.
Maybe not. I mean, he might have some loopholes, but
some loopholes.
The point is that you can see that if you have anybody that's on the upper end of things, they can really start skewing the numbers big time. So your mean average is like kind of garbage.
All right, moving right along now.
Now you got your median, and how I've noticed that they've manipulated that piece of data is a lot of times the Canadian government will put out numbers that are the median income for Canadian families. Now, what a family is and what constitutes a family is kind of where the ambiguity begins. So they might say something like the median salary for the average Canadian family is like $79,000 or something. I remember seeing somewhere around there.
I guess a single guy doesn't constitute a family, does he? He's dog and cat.
He's not in the statistics. And so, so if you look at that, now what's really duplicitous about it is when they're comparing that number to other countries that are not using this family unit. And so you're comparing the Canadian combined family median income to a Argentinian solitary one worker income. Obviously, it's gonna skew it more in the direction that Canada looks like we're all so damn wealthy and everybody else is doing so poorly. And not that they're not doing poorly, because I think it's pretty safe to say most people on the globe are doing fairly poorly.
It's a matter of who's falling to the bottom quicker.
Right. And so, okay, so I got these little tidbits. Some of them kind of show just how crap the data is. So maybe we'll start with this one because it will illustrate the false narrative. So this is the net average monthly salary. Now, for
They actually got Greenland in there.
Greenland, right? And so Canada, it's 3,300, and this is net. So this is after tax.
And that's
Now-
in Canadian funds, so it probably means about 20 grand US.
No, this is supposed to be in American money.
Okay.
So, so what we're seeing here is they're basically telling us that because all these statistics have to be in American money because they're comparing nations, right? But so I'm trying to think, how many people do I know that are clearing 3,300?
3,300 what, in a week or
In a month.
in a month?
It's
no, it'd be 1,500, 1,600 paycheck, I guess.
It's a pretty good wage, but I would say that if you're putting in the exchange rate and everything else, we're talking about basically around $50 Canadian. Now, if that's the average, I'm trying to think of who I know that makes $50 an hour. Not too many people that come to mind.
No.
So I believe that in this case, this is an example.
We just don't know the right people.
Right. This is an example of where I'm pretty sure the number that they're getting for this is coming because it is about 70. It works out the if you take the actual gross, that it's close to like 80 grand or something a year, which typically is not what one person makes in Canada, but it would be like what a
Household
couple would make or something like that. Possibly even 3 people, because it might even include a young child's salary.
How much did you make selling lemonade?
So keep that in mind when we're comparing now all these other countries and their salaries. We're talking 2 people income in comparison to single income. Well, that's going to make it look a lot higher, because if your net is actually more like $1,700 a month, right, after tax, or $1,800 a month, it's just obviously if you double the number, it's going to really skew how much you appear to be wealthy.
Just side note, but we heard that people down here, they don't have to deal with income taxes at all. Their employer does it, so the money that
they do.
get,
It's just when they're telling you how much they make, it's after tax, because they have enough sense to be like, well, if I'm never touching the money ever, who gives a shit what I'm technically making?
Okay.
So when they say, in most, as far as I know, most Latin American countries, when they're saying what they make, it's net. It's what
Right.
their take home is, because
yeah, who
you don't
cares
even-
about the theoretical earnings that you will never receive?
most people that earn a salary, it's automatically deducted. So it's not like you even receive it and then pay it out at the end of the year. You just never even touch that money ever. So I mean, who cares if 30%'s taken off in tax, 30%'s gone? It's not you're not even touching it.
And
it's
they
just
don't
bragging rights.
They don't
basically.
have to bother about filing an income tax form.
Right.
That's
So
alien to them.
Now, okay, let's continue with the statistics. I think are the biggest garbage. Oh, here's another thing that will confuse most people: is some statistics will be adjusted for inflation and other ones won't be adjusted for inflation. Sometimes the year that they choose to adjust for inflation, sometimes it's starting at now and then going back, and other times it's starting at a middle point. One of the statistics is adjusted for inflation starting kind of like the middle of the graph, few years or like a couple decades in the past, or a decade in the past, and then it goes further back into 1975. But the point is that it makes it a lot more difficult when you're trying to like go through, okay,
Analyze.
what's the actual number? I would prefer just give us the number and then let us calculate what makes sense for the adjusted for inflation. Because sometimes those statistics seem to be utter crap.
Well, some areas don't have the same inflation rate that another area does.
Right. So this one basically says,
I'm sure they worked that into it.
the median annual income in Canada up to 2022. So if we take that, and I'm pretty sure it's like 45 grand Canadian. Now that's probably more accurate, and that's probably also more like a single person. The average single person working full time. Yeah, that number sounds right. Now, of course, adjusted for the exchange rate with the US dollar, we're talking about more like 32 grand a year. Now going back, it's much less. In 2002, the average was about 23 grand a year, which I don't know. To me, that seems a little low for the median salary. Because I'm trying to remember. I mean, when I was working in 2006, I think I was at a summer job. I was still kind of like clearing, I think it was like 12 or 13 grand. And then when I started working full time, I'm pretty sure I was above 30 grand. And that was in like 2006, 2007. So it means that at like 17, 18, I would have been making above the median average for a Canadian at that time, which I guess means that I was doing pretty good for a blue collar job that didn't require any higher education and was kind of like grunt work.
Mm-hmm.
But I was above the average, so I don't know. That number on when you're going into the past looks a little off to me. But let's just say at least the here and now, it seems fairly accurate. Now, this one is another.
I think the whole premise of this is how wages have stagnated.
Well, yeah, and I'll work into that with the other one, because I think it's probably one of the better ones, because it's like a full paper about wages and stagnation and all that. So it's a little bit more than just a blurb on like some stupid website. So another one that basically says the average salary is about 43 grand a year in Canada.
Yeah, it sounds about right. I guess if you're working full time, whatever.
And okay, so now let's just go to I think this one shows maybe going a little bit further back, and now you can see here that we've got like a completely different data set. This is supposed to be adjusted for inflation, consistent for 2011 dollars. So now like we're having to go back in the past to a certain point and then go
figure out where we were in
dollar worth and then going back. Now, but it's saying that the average annual income. Okay, so this would be, it's supposed to be for workers. But it's still, this seems way high, because even though it's average, we're still talking about like 43 grand in 1990, right? And then it's going up to like 58 grand in 2010. So they don't have a chart for the income of trust fund babies, right? So, but here's just an example of where you're not really getting like a really good, accurate idea and concept of like the solid numbers without any extrapolation or adding any like flourish to it. Just give us the median damn freaking salary. That's it. That's all we need, right? They'll do all these gymnastic shit. Why would they do that?
Are you going to attempt to give it to them?
Why would they do something like that? Well, probably it's not a very good incentive to go to be in Canada and say, oh, well, we're not as wealthy as we're trying to sell to not only our own citizens, but also other people in the world.
It's like these the guys making data for government Canada are like pep coaches in the locker room.
So in the here and now, this is from the Stats Canada, so the Government of Canada's website. So the median wage for a customer service representative is $21 an hour. So that's...
Is this current?
Yeah, that's supposed to be current.
So somebody working in the service sector.
Yeah, and so that's kind of like close to the statistics that we've seen. It kind of works in with that 43 grand.
Wouldn't that
The
kinda like
carpenters, an interesting note, and one thing I would like to mention is that as the minimum wage has been increasing in Canada, the bottom jobs have increased because any minimum wage workers are just they're getting pushed up with the minimum wage going up. But most of the other workers that are like somewhat skilled or it's an undesirable job, most of them aren't really seeing an incredible boost in their salaries. So they're just staying there, and now we're just according so that everyone that's a worker is just getting squeezed down to almost being level at the exact same level of poverty.
Well, now we have true equality.
Right.
Now the gap between the unskilled worker, somebody just entering into it, is getting paid, maybe a couple dollars cheaper an hour than a highly skilled worker.
Right. And so here we see a carpenter framer, also from the government of Canada. The median is $30 an hour. Now, previously, I think you can attest to the fact that in the past, construction workers, especially a journeyman carpenter, because there's another price or another salary number for carpenter's apprentice, but these are like carpenters.
Yeah,
So-
I would say that this sounds like 1980s wages.
Right. So it's really, we're talking about stagnation. Now, here is a paper that covers stagnation. It is this one basically.
But stagnation in wages is not to be misconstrued by cost of living increases.
Right. Let me just see if I
Because
can.
God forbid that commodity holders have a stagnation event.
Right. So now we got this paper is kind of covering historical data from like the mid 70s to 2019, and that the average worker productivity has increased, but salaries have basically stagnated. So in this paper, the adjusted for inflation, and this is the one where I said they're going back to 2012, and so then going back, you're obviously it's there's the deflation, and going forward from that date there's inflation. But basically, in 2012 dollars, there's been a stagnation of like maybe $18 an hour in 2012 rates, and basically it goes all the way back into 1975. That basically, even adjusted for inflation, nothing's really changed. They've stayed the same. Now, the one thing to note about inflation is that the explosion in the housing market is not quite following that trend. So even though you've seen rents maybe double or triple in the past 20 or so years, the inflation rate is not necessarily 200% or 300%, depending upon the time period you're talking about. So it's just the entire economy that's kind of,
Well, sometimes, pardon me, but sometimes they don't even include essentials like that. It's not part of their calculation and what the inflation rate is.
right.
So they'll leave out essentials like food or housing or something like that.
So now, how does this compare to a country like Mexico? So it's kind of hard to get it precisely the median wage for the average Mexican, but today it seems like it's a big problem with this, and one of these statistics is if you go into this, and then it's like. So this says average annual wage in Mexico, but like these these wages seem like crazy high because this is in U.S. dollars. In 2003, it was like 21 grand a year. That seems pretty freaking high.
But you did say that was the mean average, not
well, that
the
was the
median.
mean average, so it shows how that can skew things. Also, there's
They
a lot
must
more.
have thrown Carlos's slim his
his
slips.
wage, yeah, and then there's a lot more fluctuation because there's a lot more fluctuation with the dollar to the peso, so there's a lot more movement that's going on there. But yeah, if you compare that, so according to this, in 2023, it's like 20 grand. Yeah, okay, it's an average, but if you consider that the median Canadian is making 31 grand US or 32 grand US, we're not doing that well.
Right. Didn't you say that?
So here's the one. This one's for the modern. It's saying that the average wage is like 660 pesos or whatever, or 600 pesos a day, which kind of translates to the lower end because it's more like $660 dollars a month. And I've seen some places that talk about $800 a month. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that there's plenty of people that are getting paid crap in Mexico. But the point is that let's just say it was $800 a month. That means that the median salary in Mexico is about 10 grand a year, which means that in comparison to the average Canadian, we're making 3 times the amount.
Oh yeah, 3-to-1 ratio. And
Of course, anyone can tell you that something like rent is probably much higher than 3 times the cost. So the cost ratio is not really great. And I would hazard a guess that there's a lot of Canadians that are basically living in the ballpark of what an average Mexican worker is.
now, don't you have the figures for a comparison between Mexican and Canadian wages going back to 1992?
Well, I don't have a comparison for, I mean, then you'd be talking about people really providing an abundance of information to the proletariat, which, spoiler alert, that's not going to fucking happen. So, but what I did get is this study was studying wages and their relation to NAFTA. So it started out in 1990 and it went to 2000. But in this case, I'm really interested in 1990 because...
I guess that was pre-NAFTA.
Yeah. So in 1990... We got that little construction going on outside.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to pick it up too much.
In 1990, the average wage was about $1.30 an hour in Mexico, which if you're taking like 40-hour weeks and you're taking and just for the annual salary, I think it works out to about 2,766 if I remember correctly. Dollars, which means that if you compare to what the average Canadian household was pulling in 1990 in Canada, well, it was like, what was it, 20 grand, but let's say 50. It was easily like 8 times, right? So now, I'm sure that Mexicans aren't feeling that enriched, and while maybe wages have kind of improved for them so that they have a little bit more purchasing power, I'm sure the average Mexican doesn't feel entirely enriched. So what's happened if we've gone from an 8-to-1 ratio to a 3-to-1 ratio, and Mexicans haven't been grossly overcompensated for their labor, then it only really comes to one conclusion.
What's that?
Well, that Canadian workers are getting poorer and their standard of living is getting worse.
Okay, well, here's a concept. And this is going to be kind of out there a bit, but let's just say in Canada you have this thing called equalization payments. So your richer provinces will top up those that are poorer, at the end of any sort of tax year. So what if, in a sense, what we're seeing is the IMF and any of these other international bodies that pretty much are telling countries what they can tax, what they can have for a national budget. And what if there is a equalization payment of sorts going on internationally? So the Western nations that were once doing quite well are now, it's being sucked out, and it's not to mention the fact that the rich are getting richer. That's an obvious one. But as far as what the workers, the working class in the West are now sucking it up, and the rich or these international governmental bodies are wrapping a nice bow of here you can have this to stimulate your economy.
Yeah, I think I would push back that it's not as much gifting something to other nations or equalization payments, more like taking out the kneecaps of the strong worker unions, the stronger worker blocks of, including in Europe and America as well.
Well, and just side note on this, Air Canada,
even in the States,
Air Canada flight attendant strike. Well, just hang on, because this was something that was well talked about, well planned out, and so the notion that some MP steps in and says, "Well, you can't do that. You're going to inconvenience people, and you're going to cause a little bit of hurt." Well, that's the whole point of a strike, is not to do it when the people striking are going to be inconvenienced by not receiving the regular pay. So what we're seeing time and time again is this basically knocking the legs from underneath all unions.
Well, and another thing I think that they're doing is that the reason why their manipulation of the data works is because of a arrogance of like Canadians have it, Brits have it, Americans, French have it. We all have this pride, right? And the pride says we don't want to, feel like we're second-class citizens or we're pieces of shit. And so if someone gives us an opportunity to go, "Hey, you're actually wealthy," we go, "Yeah, I am. In comparison to other people around the world, I'm doing pretty damn well." And it's our pride that wants to embrace that. Other cultures, other people, they don't give a shit about that. So they're like, "Listen, if I'm poor means that you're going to give me a better salary, then yeah, I'm poor." Like I don't have pride or a stake in it to say like, "No, I think, yeah, I am making gross. Yeah, gross. I'm making a lot of money gross. Yeah. Oh, am I not surviving off a net? Yeah, I'm not even able to pay, but I don't want to say that. My pride is fucking with me. Fuck pride."
Yeah.
But anyways, so I think I just wanted to do this because I feel like there's this veil of ambiguity around what the average Canadian worker is facing, and there is a war on. The amount of time you get some little prick CBC, CTV, whatever you want, you always get some like little asshole employer going, "Well, Canadians don't want to work." Well, Canadians don't want to work for a wage. Shut the fuck up. Let me say this.
Boy.
Well, dude, I'm in the middle. Canadians don't want to work.
This is the way we usually talk, by the way.
Canadians do not want to work for an unlivable wage, right? I mean, I've worked on farms picking fruit and shit like this. They go, "Oh, Filipinos, they pick so fast." Then you talk to the Filipinos, they're like, "Oh man, I work so hard. I can't even pay for anything." So they're literally just bullshitting people, trying to get them like working off of one another. But like literally, you're not getting livable wages And the only reason why these people are working on these farms is because it's like a form of slavery where most of these people are brought in as like sponsors, like they're sponsored to come into the country to work. And those sponsors basically control their right to be in Canada. So the people there are completely held and bound by their employer. And any free Canadian isn't going to work for that asshole because he's not paying enough to make it worthwhile. Am I wrong?
I'm going to. Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Yeah, you better watch yourself, man. I got too much coffee flowing through my veins this morning. I'm angsty, but no, but I mean, I just you get kind of sick and tired of this bullshit narrative. Canadians don't want to work. Canadians don't want to work for crap wages, and we have to stop thinking that we have it so much better than everybody else, because the reality is that our standard of living is getting pushed down. For the last 50 years, it's been squeezed and squeezed lower and lower. We're getting to a point where we're basically almost at eye level with everybody else in the globe. So let's start looking to supporting Canadian workers and supporting the fact that these people are just trying to get livable wages, not trying to get
All these strong unions are just ruining businesses in Canada.
Well, maybe what's ruining the economy in Canada are the greedy banks that are inflating real estate up to the moon. And so everybody is now paying out the ass for any type of rent, whether it's a business paying out like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 grand a month just to have a business in operation. Are you going to add something now?
No, I dare not. Yeah, I mean, you could say that really. If you're talking about these business owners paying an exorbitant amount in lease, they don't bitch about that. That would be inappropriate to say that. But you can bitch about having to pay your waitress maybe $2 an hour more.
You can't bite the
Which
hand.
Which at the end of a shift is the tantamount to what? Maybe $10?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
$12. I mean, that is like what most people peel off in one tip.
Oh, I mean, my goodness, you got
now,
these.
Of course, that sounds almost like I'm contradicting my own statement. But usually, those type of higher end restaurants, it's a different story. Where, yes, sure, waitresses or servers.
Waitresses.
Pardon-moi.
Waitresses make money in tips.
Servers did. I just corrected myself.
But the people in the back certainly aren't. All your line cooks and everything, they're just paid minimum wage, and that's it.
Oh yeah.
And typically there's a lot of kind of bullshit that when I worked in a kitchen, we were supposed to be getting a percentage of the tips, but I think basically the owner was skimming.
Maybe you should get horizontal
off
on this
the top.
couch, and you can tell us all about it.
I don't feel like getting horizontal. I feel like standing up, fist in the air in the land of hypocrisy.
Right. Okay. I
So-
think that's going to be a wrap, dude. I think that's like.
Yeah, I think
I'm going to guess about 30 minutes long.
Yeah, and well, just remember that everything's lies and bullshit to hide us from the truth. That we're all getting screwed.
The
Anyways.
truth.
All right, put a cap on it. Okay. Anyways, we'll be back tomorrow. Later,
Happy
guys.
Monday.